Hey everyone!
Welcome back.
You are tuning in to Outsourcing and More. My name is Penny.
This is Francis, and welcome back again to another episode with us. And we hope you have been having fun with all of the episodes that we've been pouring out.
We hope you're getting something out of all
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd wish you guys are getting something out of it
Yeah.
too. And if you have been enjoying, please feel free to tell your friends about it. Tell them to subscribe. Find us where podcasts are available. We're also on YouTube. So
Yes, we are.
yeah. And today we have a very interesting topic. We always say we have a very interesting topic. It can only be interesting if we have, like insights or stuff that we want to share about it as well. And today is a very, I guess it's going to be a very bipolar, a polarized conversation because our topic today is about time management.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm not gonna lie, I struggle with.
before we were shooting, I was like, time management.
And she looked at me and she was like, I was like, oh, bakit? Oh, bakit? I manage my time.
Yeah,
just
you do. You
not
do,
very
you
well.
you do use something to manage your time. It's just you could be doing better. But then again, that's your it's a little bit of your personality.
I mean, I think I think there's a lot more excitement in a life that doesn't have schedule. So
Spontaneity. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does that well.
it's a very it's a very interesting life for me. Like I feel like if I look at my calendar and then I see what's happening, and don't get me wrong, I've done and I still do. It's just I feel like my normal routine isn't guided by the 9 to 5. Yeah.
But time management doesn't just mean 9 to 5, right?
Yeah. Life.
I think there's something to be said about being spontaneous and just do what you feel like for that day.
And there's a lot that sucks about it too. Like like
I have to call you when it's time for the meeting already.
meeting. And then I mean let's be very very clear. I hate some parts of it and some of
But
it
some
I
you do
add
need.
and some I generally enjoy. So if it hasn't been obvious just by that by that exchange,
By that
one
banter
person
alone.
here who's like would you call yourself a type A?
No, not really, because there are moments where I'm like, okay, I can let that go for now.
Yeah, but the first thing you do is like, okay,
Yeah.
exactly. That's my point. That's my point. So you have a very very well organized personality over here, and then somebody who is like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm that. When I turn 50, I'm gonna be that like hipster mom who just walks in and say, "What's gonna happen today?"
But I have, so with time management, I think I have seen you with a planner, right?
Yes, I mean there. So, you try stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, you
should
try
try
stuff, and
different
I, there were times I've had several actually with the, I can't remember. I think it was a coffee bean planner.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Starbucks planners when I got them back in like 2004 to 2008, it was really more. So I have one.
Yay!
Yeah,
Finally, you have one.
I got one. Yeah, but it was helpful. Like you have your things to do, and then you have your doodles at the back, and
Yes.
then of course because I was working corporate back then. Hello American Express. Hello Jen Puno, my ever reliable manager, and Fe. They're the ones who
Encourage you?
inc-
Who helped you get the Starbucks planner by
beat me into submission
by
with
buying
no, but
putting it on your card?
well, I mean, of course, part of their roles as managers was to help you
Yes.
be more on track
Yes.
because I was also managing teams at the time, so I can't just, be my happy-go-lucky self. But the way I see them, like the first thing they do is sit down, open the planners, and then like and then every time something happens, let's schedule a meeting for it. I'm free on the
yeah. I think I've tried several things, but I think with time management, it's really pinpointing what system works for you best.
Yeah. And I've been exposed to a lot of them. Like they were like managing my day. Like try the Pomodoro method.
Oh yeah, I told you
the egg timer. I mean, that was like
the tomato timer.
The tomato timer. It was like tick 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 ting. Okay, what did I do?
No, you should be trying different tips. For us, well, for me, I do a lot more. Pre-pandemic, I had a bullet journal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pre-pandemic I had a bullet journal because at that point I was really like, okay, in my work I do a lot of like processes and analytics and things like that, and so the bullet journal kind of allowed me to be a little bit more creative. But then also at some point it was just also dates and my to-do list because I didn't have much time to really put in like.
I like the bullet point journals because it doesn't tell you like what time to do something, but it was more.
What's your to-do for today?
Yeah, it was more fulfilling to see like, okay, so I didn't do 10 out of 10, but I got to do 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's still fun to do.
Like really, so like for example, for bullet journals, it does have a system where you're kind of, do you check it off? Because there's some sort of fulfillment about checking it off.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you know what's the most fulfilling about it? When you do like a bullet point journal, the first thing you do is the bullet journal. The first thing you do is like make bullet journal check.
No, because okay. So even with bullet journals, because you can buy planners, right?
Yes.
In bookstores, but with bullet journals, you kind of also have some sort of control on what you want to be there.
Yeah.
With buying planners outside, they kind of it's already packaged for you, and sometimes you don't use all of the pages.
And you kind of hate how it, like the way that it's planned. Sometimes it's not for you. I think there's a planner for everyone.
Yes, there is.
In my case, like because one of the few ones that I got the first time had like 8 to 12.
Oh yeah, the timed ones.
There was timed ones, and I could like, I don't want to.
Yeah, it's not free. I think as entrepreneurs and people doing business, and I mean even in your personal life, there's having stuff put in specific time blocks actually helps you because you need to do them in that time block because it affects everything else.
Yes.
Right? Especially during meetings, it's not like you also have to be cognizant of the time of the people that you're meeting. You can't just go overboard and
being respectful of everybody's time was became very important. So let's talk about this first. There's a lot out there in terms of how to help you be more productive. Time management wise, like if you're a project manager, for example, Gantt charts are exceedingly helpful and something that I actually demand when I'm working with a project manager, because I want to see how, and I mean, to be fair, it's kind of unfair to a project manager to like, I need you to foresee everything.
No, not exactly. It's not unfair because that's what
their job is. And I've been in one of those positions before. It's like, okay, here's 3 months for the project, and it's like, put this first. So we're only talking about Gantt charts. So what are the dependencies? Yes. And that's when I started realizing. So this was 16. I didn't actually do a project manager, but I was assisting a project manager. So I got some really great insights in terms of like, especially when you talk about dependencies, like you can't really force somebody to do something if they're not in a position to do it yet because they're waiting on something to happen prior.
Really?
So true. That's something prior. So that was one of the things that you look at it from a much broader perspective.
I'm sorry. There are just moments where I could just keep laughing. But okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I look at that, and that's certainly something that stuck with me.
Yeah.
In terms of, asking for from a project manager.
But yeah, no. Okay, so time management is sometimes, it's projects because you have a deadline of certain event date,
Yes.
or the project needs to be done by this time, because after that you still have, to learn something about the project so you can do something else, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like project after project after project, and so you want to plan it out, and that actually is part of time management, like planning out. And if we're talking about personal time management, planning out your day really, really helps.
Yeah.
Before, I did have a bullet journal, then the pandemic happened, so I didn't do a lot. I just stayed at home, so I went without the bullet journal after that. But now what I do use is a to-do list.
A
So
to-do list.
every single day, in all of the contracts that I that I manage, I do put in my to-do list first, like everything first, and then I number which ones are my priority for the day, because let's be honest, you cannot do everything.
You can.
All of your tasks in a day.
Some of them will have to like migrate.
Yes.
Yeah, some of
Yes.
them will have to migrate. So, wait. Paper to-do list, online to-do list.
Me,
Because I've tried the online to-do list.
I have to, but paper for me is personally for me is much better, because I can see the entire thing. I know you can see your entire to-do list
And you can do
online,
to-do lists on Outlook even.
yes, but it's just I like crossing it off
Yeah.
once I'm done with it.
There's a satisfaction, like getting
Yeah.
your pen to paper, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
I get
just the
that.
satisfaction, and then I can also rearrange them. But that's just me. Other people, the online thing might be better for them. It's just maybe old school on this, but I like the pen and paper thing. And it also allows me to just put in doodles and notes on the side.
I'm thinking it's time to break out. So I bought one, and I've been waiting to break it out. It's just, again, just keeping score of things that I think I was in a burnout phase where I really didn't want to control my life so much, as long as the day
Yeah.
happened.
And
And
but
then
are you sure you were able to do something for that day?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I keep a broad list, because so in my case, and this is something that, again, for somebody who is by nature not wanting to be bound by to-do list, I still have to keep some.
Yes.
So I have this, like, like in Outlook, no, not Outlook, like on your Apple notepad, like your Apple notepad. So it just has like a
A laundry list.
folder. So I have a Virtua folder. I have my client folder. So every time I have a meeting that happens, it goes into one of the folders.
Yes. Yeah,
So
me too.
and then I also have a general to-do list, like the ones that have bullet points. So just I list down 3 or 4 things, major things that I want to accomplish for the day. So even if that require, even if, I mean, thing is, like, meetings, set up a meeting with clients, set up with client interviews. Of course, somebody else handles that for us now. So, like, look at your calendar, check.
Your to-do
My to-do list includes look at your calendar.
Well, but that's true. You need to look at your calendar. I think for me, the other thing that I do, well, the thing with to-do lists is that it frees up your mind.
Yeah, and
Because
that,
it's so hard to keep track of everything. So if you have all of these tasks, just
sorry, my bad.
so
Stop
if you
playing
all
with
have if you have all of these things just in your head, you're doing something, but
That's-
you're also
that's the worst
juggling
thing.
something.
That's
in
the
your
worst
head.
thing.
That's why you have to write it down.
Yeah, if you can't keep up with the things that you're thinking about, better to really list them
Yes.
down.
Yes.
I keep thinking about the time when. So again, this was pre-pandemic. This was pre-pandemic because I was both working and keeping track of gigs.
Yes.
That was the time when my
Planner.
my planner came in super helpful,
Yes.
because every time somebody inquired, I didn't even think about it. Like, are you free on the 15th? To write on the
Yeah.
15th, even if it's like pencil book.
Yes.
write it down right
Write
away
it down,
because I get to look 7 days ahead and figure it out. Especially since gig events are like, number one, they're volatile.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, they're volatile. So you wanna write it down right away because when the time comes when somebody says, "Are you also free?" and it happens to be on the same date, you now force yourself to like, I'm pencil booked, so I'll follow up with this person, and then follow up with this person. If he says no, then I get to I mean that.
You do have something.
Yeah,
like
I will go back to my trove and then get back to you on
Yes.
that. Like, but that was like the main purpose of the journal. Then the rest is like then some bullet points again, like client meetups, and then because if you're doing a lot of stuff, I've seen the worst that can happen if you don't have it is like when you get, say for example, like double booked.
Yes.
Yeah, having meetings with different clients at the same time. Worst feeling ever. It's like you
Yeah.
can't really like talk your way out of it.
Yes, and it's like for clients, it's hard to cancel on clients,
So
right?
hard to cancel.
So even just on the
And
personal
ruin-
level, if it's not double book because it's not clients, but then of course you penciled the time for the podcast, and then suddenly you remember it's your kid's birthday. Everything moves, and then some of your tasks.
And
some
again,
people
especially if there's a
depend
lot
on
of
you.
dependencies.
Yes. Yeah.
So, go back, real life example. So, hi guys. We forgot you were there. No, we didn't. There are instances when it's actually very important. I think there were days when, sometimes when your day winds down and you're like doing like, what's my bullet point for the day? And it's honestly just like one bullet point.
They never checked
Like
it.
one bullet point, and then you check it off, and then it's like, so what else do I do? And sometimes it's hard to think like, what do I do for the rest of the day? Because sometimes things are automatic.
Sometimes for me, I do like I have my to-do lists, right? But I do put in a space there where I can tackle whatever fire needs to happen, like needs to be taken
Office
care
hours,
of that
I
day.
remember.
Like I make sure that I have some space in the day to tackle anything that's urgent that needs to happen that day, because things happen during the day and they need to be addressed. And so instead of just moving things around, I put in that space.
I think I remember. So, air bullet list, like, break out that journal again.
See, it's hard to keep things on
Yeah.
track
No,
in
yes.
your head.
And then there's, like going back, we just recently held our our strat
planning, yeah.
plan. And during that time, you know how you have like all of these ideas pouring out,
Yes.
and then stuff that you think that we wanted to do, and then the sometimes the most important thing is follow through. Like, how do I now take all of these ideas and then break it down so you could address them?
Yes.
So you can't just stay as ideas. So again,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, like in that case, I knew I put it in a general to-do list, but I have to start breaking them down
Yes.
into actionable items. There you go.
Yes, because like for example, if you're just thinking about something like, I don't know, for example, I want to do a podcast, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot much going on into stage like doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that
And this
your
isn't our
equipment.
full-time job.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is that sometimes if you have something in your head as an idea, sometimes you lose sight of everything else that needs to happen to get the idea executed. And so writing things down allows you to fully think it through.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you have ideas, it's not like ideas that you need to work on right away, but you
Yes.
can work on them at some point.
Yes.
So you better than losing track. You can at least write them as a general. There's a space in journals where you can have like general to-do list where you come back monthly, like the one for the month, and then you have the rest for the
Yes.
weeks and then the days.
Yes.
I think I find it healthy to write it down, like ideas. I actually took
ideas.
that like little yellow notebook
Yeah, you put
that
the
we
ideas
had.
there. Yeah, you need to.
Yeah.
I think you asked me about pen or paper versus online.
Mm.
I do use the online thing, but it's more of my calendar because it does automatically alert you, right? For meetings, I use it for anything that needs to be scheduled. Like, again, podcast shoot needs to be scheduled. I'm going to my kids' school because we have a parent teacher conference, it has to be there. And I definitely use the alerts. Like I definitely do set it. Like if, for example, it's a meeting that's I have to be somewhere to go and I have to prepare for it, then I set the alert a day before, and then another alert a few, depending on what the event is.
So to remind you that it's gonna happen,
Yes.
and then when it's actually going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it happens is, you have to agree. It's more if you're so because you're an entrepreneur, and then therefore there are multiple
Yeah.
multiple
Yes, there are multiple things.
facets.
Yeah,
There are
yes,
multiple
yes, yes.
facets in your life,
Mhm.
and that's definitely helpful. But what if you're a regular 9 to 5 job? Like if, say, for example, I am, like I am a call center employee, for example. So you know that your work is more like clockwork. Go to work, answer calls, go home, maybe do your other things. So is that helpful for them?
Sometimes it could be depending on what the work is. For example, if they need to follow through with a certain customer the next day, it could be helpful to just write that down at the end of the day, so that the next the next day you know that, okay, I need to follow up with this person, because sometimes you will forget. Especially, I have this thing. After the weekend, I completely forget what I got, what I did the week prior.
Sometimes after a meeting, I already forgot what the meeting was about.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I still do my to-do list, just so I can review what I did and then start
Yeah.
this week. But to your point about like 9 to 5 job, you already know, and because in the call center industry, you already kind of it's that same task every single time.
Yeah, and your
Right.
processes are automated. Like if it's tickets, if you need to follow up with somebody, you set it on pending, and then it reopens after 3 hours. So sometimes there's not really a lot of point to keeping a bullet journal. But then, actually, I was thinking about that question too. But then I realized it can also apply to like general life, like setting a time to do groceries. I
Yes.
guess.
Yes. I think one thing that if we're talking just one point regarding the call center thing, like apart from trying to having to follow up with a client because they
Ask for a call back.
ask for a callback, things like that. I think you also have to pencil in some time just to see, okay, what have I done for today? Like especially for newbies, right? Like what have I done for the day? What else can I do to make my work better, because I'm still new here, so I'm still learning. So to-do list is still applicable. What?
I realize, that might be hard because if you're, so this is very helpful if you're somebody who's goal oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you're not? I think a lot of people who fall off the bandwagon of, like even keeping the something because just admit, if you're somebody like me who collected the planners back then, and then you're excited because you have the planner, and then you start like January, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet, February,
That's-
bullet point, bullet point, March, less bullet points.
Yes.
March, April,
It
less
happens.
bullet points. And then by May, it's just doodles.
It happens. That just means that system isn't for you.
Yeah. And I, like I said, there was a time when I just gave up because you have to like look for the days and what to write in, and then sometimes it's depressing if you're not putting stuff in, and that's why I shifted from
You're not you get depressed because there's no nothing in there.
yeah, because you're kind of like not putting anything in because sometimes the day just happens automatically. Like why do I have to write it in? And sometimes the act of writing it in becomes tedious.
You know that quote that what do you forgot the quote now because of the prior. I'm still laughing at it. But anyway, you know that quote like sometimes you do need to take control of your life and not just let life happen to you, which is one of our podcast episodes where you're a little bit more you're trying to get ladder, and I was just focusing on feeding my kids. Right. Right.
Yes.
So yes, I understand what you mean by the goal oriented thing, but of course there are a lot of things that you do day by day, work and personal, right, that need to happen because you're an adult.
Yeah. There's a lot of realization that comes with because honestly I struggle to come to terms with I wish I could come back to last week and say these are the things that I did, and then there's another half of me like it's gonna happen anyway.
So my question to you is, how fast is it happening?
Which one? The dichotomy.
How fast is it happening? I mean, yeah, you say it's gonna happen anyway, but are you on track?
You get caught up in so many things. That part I would totally agree on. Like,
So this podcast is me trying to convince him to start tracking his to-do list and be on
to be
time.
to be better with managing my time. Yeah, this is a trap, guys. This is a trap. No, but like I said, I mean, I can't really be accused of not totally keep track of it. It's just I'm sort of like on and off with it. And again, it's just, you know, there has to be people out there who don't care. I'm asking for help out. People help.
No, it's okay. We're talking about and because
And yeah.
my personal stuff is I have kids and
Yes.
it's like
And you
I
have to
still have to manage the time my kids' time.
So there's your kids' life, and
And my
then it's your
work.
personal life, and then
And then
there's
my
your
work,
work
yeah.
life, and then there's the business side of things. So yeah, that part I totally understand, and like I said, just in my case, I think I lull myself in a false sense that I can keep it in my head sometimes. That's I think that's the absolute truth. You lull yourself in the false sense that it's in my calendar anyway. It's gonna alarm anyway, but you kind of still get to miss some of them, especially if you. And I think that's the problem then, that if you don't look at your time, you tend to like plan something else.
Yes.
That's totally out of schedule.
Hence.
And then you find yourself like, oh shit, meeting. I'm partying.
Hence.
Hence,
the
yeah.
importance of
Yeah.
putting it down.
Is that the entire point of this? Just so I could come down and say, yes, I now promise
No.
to.
What else do you do to manage time? Well, to-do list, the calendar is very helpful for me because we do have interviews, we do have things like this, we do have things that we need to do for our work. That's very important to me. Some people would say, and mind you, I've tried because kind of, a thing, like I have a thing about time management, right?
Yeah.
And some people would say like day theming and time blocking, right? For example, when they say day theming, and we, previously we had a lot of different contracts, right? Monday, all you do is Virtua. Tuesday, this contract. They do that, but it didn't really work for me.
Segmenting your time.
Yeah.
I do remember there was a day that I don't think I personally segmented my time that way, but I know that like Monday you put all of the things Virtua aside.
Yeah.
That part I remember. It's just weird because so am I not gonna think about Virtua the rest of the week?
Yes, that's why it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the day theming. The other thing I think is doing the same task in a bundle, like the same repetitive task, and just do it at that time period. Just so your mind doesn't shift between tasks. I'm trying to figure out the best. Like, for example, our interviews, right?
Yeah.
We try to do, like, for example, 8 to 10. That's all interviews so that I can just concentrate on that.
Yeah, because it also helps because you kind of want to tell people that you're not available for
Yes.
this time frame. That absolutely helps. The
What?
thing about putting time just to do specific items, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's why, the day theming thing, I tried, failed. And so that's why I told you earlier, it depends on what system works for you.
Yeah. This is the thing about the Pomodoro. Like, if that's not your general work thing, like if all of your work lies in specific items, like this is my entire day is dedicated to, say for example, I mean, what's another job? What's another job that where that works? Like, say for example, if I guess back in training. Okay, let's go back to let's say training. If part of my work lies in like doing say QA work. So if it takes me longer to finish all of my QA tasks for the day, like ding, move on to something else. especially if I'm working on something like that is more problem oriented. Like if I'm trying to solve, like working on
Well,
contracts. That part I
are we
remember
talking
now.
about the Pomodoro?
We're talking
Or
about the
different?
Pomodoro. That part I
Okay.
remember because if I wait,
Okay,
hang on.
good.
I remember this because now, like for example, if I was forced to like say for example, write like intros, contract work for example, if I need to work on that and I put my mind to it and then nothing's coming out, cut it off after 15 minutes and then do something else. That part I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
okay.
works for me because if I cut it off, work on the next thing on my items on my bucket list. That kind of helps because it doesn't take up too much of my time. Like like if you're a writer and then you look at a blank space and
Yes,
then nothing's happening
yes.
after 15 minutes, just cut it off, do something else, and then try to come back to it at another time.
I've also tried to do the Pomodoro. It didn't work for me too. I just didn't.
Maybe I did a pseudo Pomodoro. Like nothing happens, just do something else. Because
No,
I certainly wouldn't work because I feel like I would be concentrating on the egg timer the entire time.
No, I think
Ting.
the point of the Pomodoro technique really is have focus work and then have breaks so that you're refreshed, right? It's just that for me, just that sometimes they're just you're in your flow already, and so you don't want to stop. That's where
Yeah.
it kind of didn't work for me. But also sometimes because you're not tied to the system of the Pomodoro technique, sometimes you also forget to take breaks, right? Which studies have shown that you need to take breaks
Yeah.
to kind of recharge and refresh and be able to do your best work. So
It
yeah,
also kind of happens only to people who are stuck in their schedule. Like if you're more fluid, if you have more control over your time, then the responsibility of managing your time is yours to handle as well. I don't know. I feel like this is more journeys of realization.
okay.
Like if you find yourself missing deadlines, you have to find a time management system that works for you because I think there's so many options for time
Yes.
management
There's
that
a lot of books that have been written about this.
a lot of books, a lot of options. You have calendars. Sometimes your phone has 3 calendars.
Yes.
You have a Google calendar and then your phone's calendar and then there's another calendar for some reason. Like I can show you right now. There's
It depends on what accounts you actually added in your phone.
yeah, Outlook has its own
Yeah.
calendar.
But what I try to do with my calendars is I try to place everything in one calendar, which means, like, for example, for Gmail,
Yeah.
you have to integrate or share, publish, whatever you call it.
To
Just
be fair,
into
I have a lot
one.
of stuff on my calendar.
See, you do use it. Come on. You just have to look at it when it's time for the meeting. Right?
Make sure it's not low bad.
Yeah, and make sure it's not
Yeah.
low bad and charge it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is like one of our bigger ticket
Okay,
items.
I have a question for you. How do you when given a certain set of things to do, how do you prioritize your stuff?
Biggest items first.
And when you say biggest, what do you mean by that?
The things that absolutely need to happen. Like for example, like Mondays, we say for example we have a leadership meeting.
Yeah.
Then that item actually sits there. And then it's not just I can squeeze in a lot of things before the meeting and then stuff after the meeting. Maybe maybe immediately after fine, but the before I actually put in like don't disturb me for the next 30 minutes prior to the
Really?
meeting. No, because if especially if it's something that you're leading,
Oh,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
leading
yeah,
the
yes,
meeting,
yes,
you can't
yes.
just and then
then
hop to
switch.
the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can
yeah.
switch your brain off on and off like that way, especially again if you have to prepare, like if there are slides that you need to polish, if you're leading say for example if I have training, if I have training, I can't just be in training mode right away. I need to have that like time to turn on, like even in my head I have to rehearse
Yes.
what I need to do. So those are that's what I meant about big ticket. Like I actually, if you have the luxury of extra time, then block off some time prior to an important
Meeting, yeah.
event. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If my work lies more on like, if you have to draft something, like if it's a letter or setting a meeting with like that one kind of just happens. Like, ding, it's time to start, and then start writing on the contract. It's not something that I need to prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to get into the mode of
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, speaking of which,
I think just in terms of prioritizing, because this is very important in time management, because you know that time is finite. And so whatever you put in your calendar, it's a trade-off for something else. Like, you can't put anything else in there because you've already, set aside time for it. But in terms of prioritization, for me, that's one too, like big ticket items, anything that has a deadline or anything that other people are dependent on me on. Then those are my biggest things. So yeah, time management.
yeah, time
Break out
management.
that planner.
Break out that planner. I feel like I'm sweating because I'm in all of the realization. No. One thing I could definitely say, like, if you want to take charge, like, if this is if your goal is to take charge more of your time, it
Yes.
certainly helps. It can't do anything more than than keep you in line with your day-to-day activities, and then farther ahead, 7 days,
Yes.
the whole month, you'll surprise yourself that it can happen. Like I said, the only
That
reason,
you're actually able to do a lot of things if you start planning it out.
yeah, I'm not totally averse to it. I mean, yeah, again, I'm just going back to the fact that there was a time when I just didn't want to control everything. But even right now, like, even in this midst, there's a big change happening in my life personally. You find yourself just thinking about all of those things. Okay, online versus paper. Paper, definitely. I've tried doing the to-do list, but I've been itching to get my planner out, because you need to, like, plan stuff. Even
Yes.
meeting with friends right now
Yes.
needs to be written down. You can't just, like, okay, let's see how the weekend goes. No, I need to lock it in now. If
Yes.
we're not gonna meet ourselves, if we're not gonna agree to meet this weekend, I'm not gonna hold out that week. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna reserve my weekend because there's too many things happening. I can't even meet with my partner.
Yeah, because Virtua keeps coming.
I can't even meet with my partner now. Like, we're like this weekend. Again, just because we didn't talk about it, we were like, remember this? It was this Saturday, Sunday.
Which one?
When you were in your birthday party.
Oh yeah. This weekend.
Yeah, and my
This past
partner was like,
weekend,
go to SM Aura. I have an event there, and I was like, okay, great, because I have dinner with my friends at 7, so I'll tell them to go to SM Aura. And then when we were there, and I was like, so are you gonna join us for dinner? It's like, no, I thought you were gonna join me for dinner. And he was like, no, Abe. I said, I'm meeting Vida and friends. So, but we're going to Barcino. I'm totally not going to Barcino. Yeah, but it's a lot of missed opportunities. Like, I wish, like, in our case, we definitely have more time. We definitely have a need to schedule time more. Like, so personal, work-life, again, a work-life balance again. This is a
Yes.
recurring theme now.
Yes, work-life balance. It
Yeah.
definitely helps you out if you plan it.
Yeah. Get a planner.
Yeah. No, there there are a lot of books, a lot of articles, like a lot of gurus about this time management thing. The most important thing that I can advise anyone is try some of them out, see what works for you. Sometimes, it's an overlap, or sometimes it's a combination of two tips that could work for you.
Just the
Definitely
tips.
test it out. Yes, definitely test it out, because it really depends on your lifestyle. Not one person can tell you this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
It depends on your lifestyle.
Keep the planner with you, even if your life has. So I'm telling you this as the person who isn't as jacked up with time management. Keep it with you, because you'll never know when you need to break it out, and then you'll find if something happens, just keep writing it down.
Yeah,
If it
keep
doesn't,
writing it
if you
down.
feel like it isn't as important as you think it is, just keep writing it down, because you'll realize that the things that you said are just, it's just normal. It's just dinner. They turn out to be important things as well. Things that you might miss because you didn't write it down,
Yeah.
or things that you you waste a whole day because you said, okay, Saturday, and then you realize that there are 2 or 3 other things that need to
Yes.
happen, and therefore you had to cancel. So you don't want to be on the end that ruins somebody else's plans because you didn't plan yours accordingly. So, yeah.
What a big realization from you.
Yeah. It's a
No, you use it. It's just, you just have to keep at it.
yeah. No, I have to admit that I actually do have some form of time management
Yes.
in place,
Mhm.
and maybe get out of the because I am not the 50-year-old hippie hipster mom mode yet, so I have to get out of it. No, it's just the literal truth.
Yeah.
As much as I try and say na, I'm a little bit more flexible with my time. You're actually not. Nobody is.
Yeah. Time is finite.
Yeah, nobody is. Even if your big ticket items are more like spending time with family, write it
Yeah.
down because you'd hate to cancel on your mom and dad. Your mom and dad won't be with you forever.
Okay. Well, I
That took
didn't
a
see
dark
that
turn.
coming.
No, honestly,
Yeah, but that's true. Eh? It's just
even with Jim. No, even with Jim, it's actually very important.
Yeah.
I keep telling Jim. I keep telling Jim. You schedule time with your parents the way you schedule time with clients.
Yes.
If my parents were here, I would probably be scheduling a lot more time with them. But I'm not going to the US. The US is a crazy place right now. But literally as much as I can, talk to them on Messenger,
Yeah.
call them at the weirdest hours just to see if I can wake her up from sleep, and then have a conversation. Actually, if even if stuff like that, like if I forget like 2 days, 3 days, I kind of regret not missing on those 2 days. So that's probably something that you wanna write down as well. Even if you're if you're a 9 to 5 guy, there are things to write down as well. If you're a businessman, more importantly,
Yeah, more important.
if you have a lot of things depending on you and how you manage your time, then definitely yes.
Yes. So I think that wraps up.
Aha!
One point. Anyway, this wraps up this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to
Yeah.
Outsourcing and More. Again, my name is Penny.
This is Francis.
And
What's
please-
your realization?
Yes. What's your realization? Please write it down below. Please follow us on all our socials.
Follow us on
follow
YouTube.
us
Please
on YouTube.
subscribe.
Yeah.
And
Thank
then we'll
so
see you in the next
much.
episode. Bye.